What's up, guys? In this video, I wanted to talk to you about my delivering my own children and how that experience affected me, what it was like for me, why I did it. And in addition, I'm going to give you a story related to why I tend to avoid hospitals and one of the reasons why I decided to not, be in a hospital for the birth of my children. So I have three children, three beautiful daughters. I value them more than anything. They are the light of my life, and having children changed my life in so many ways, and basically became the powerful force that I needed to keep me in line in life, and keep me disciplined enough, to not go astray from whatever it is I need to do that is best for them. And my wife and I, we had a conversation when she first became pregnant about the birth process and some of the things that I've heard from others and the experiences they've had in hospitals. And I came to the conclusion very quickly that most of the people have had bad experiences. So, I started researching and looking into things a lot further. I came to also realize that the rate of cesarean usage, particularly in the state that I live, is extremely high. And basically, I'm of the position that the hospitals really are only about money. So their concern is how long your stay is, whether you're there prematurely or not, and also how much they can bill the insurance companies for. So naturally, a cesarean is a serious major surgery that can be billed thousands and thousands of dollars to insurance on, rather than the actual natural birth process, which is much, much less. So these are just some of the reasons, that started coming into my head. I had the conversation with my wife about, us having children at home, home birth, completely natural. She was open to it. It took time to get us to the point and get her specifically built up mentally enough to the point that she was prepared to deal with it as far as the fear aspect. The fear was the biggest thing, because most women, when they think of labor and childbirth, they automatically go to the stereotypical scene in a hospital. A woman on the bed with her legs up and screaming and squeezing the guy's hand and in terrible pain. And that was the complete opposite of what my experience with my wife and our children were. She never screamed in any of the three. There was never any screaming, never anything crazy like that, just so you're aware. So the experience can be completely different than that you've been exposed to. So I wanted to deliver the kids also, for my own reasons. I thought it was a very, very special and honorable thing for me to do. My thought process was, why would I allow for another man to be the first person to physically touch my child? Why would I allow for another person to be the first one that my children open their eyes and see? So for me, that's crazy. Fuck that. I'm going to do that. That's for me to do, not for another man to do. And I talked to a couple people about it, and most men around me, they're completely different. I don't understand what the fuck they're thinking, but, for them, it's crazy. Like, they don't want nothing to do with it. They can't even be in the room. It's squeamish. Some people tell me, I can't see my wife or my girl like that because I'll lose attraction to her. Get the fuck out of here. I mean, that's fucking unbelievable disrespect and childish fucking crap. Be a fucking man and take care of your woman and take care of your child. To think that I would let my wife go into labor in a fucking room full of strangers and me be outside because I don't want to see that is fucking laughable. And I can't believe that some women accept that shit from their men. But anyway, that's not the point of the story. So we had our first child. It was a home birth. We did have every precaution thought of. So, I had a midwife present with a doula as well. She had an assistant. And, my conversation with them from the beginning was, look, that I am going to deliver my children completely on my own. This is an experience between my wife and I and the child. You are here to supervise and ensure that nothing goes wrong. Should I encounter something that I'm not familiar enough to move beyond, you step in. And in addition to that, of course, I had routed out the hospital path that we would take should there be an emergency. So I thought about this a lot. I didn't go into this lightly, trust me. My main concern was my wife's health and the health of the child. So we had our first daughter. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience. I can't even begin to explain to you the feeling that I had in seeing my child, and she opened her eyes and just smiled at me. And I think that has to do also with the fact that my wife was not medicated. She had no painkillers at all, completely natural. And of course, those painkillers, when introduced into the mother's body, transfer into that of the child as well. So a lot of times the kid comes out with his eyes closed, high as hell, can't even fucking function. That wasn't the case. My daughter came out smiling at me. And within 15 minutes, I'd helped my wife, cleaned her off, and I took my daughter outside in our backyard. It was a beautiful sunny day. And, we were just enjoying the sunlight together, my little family. And it was beautiful, so it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. And the second daughter was very similar. Again, without flaw, beautiful, unbelievable bonding time that I had with them. And I'm so glad, that I have those memories and that I can tell them that, that Daddy delivered you, not anybody else. Daddy was the first one to touch you. Daddy was the first person you ever saw, the first voice you heard outside of the stomach, the same voice that you'd be hearing, throughout the whole entire pregnancy, because I was talking to them, in their mother's stomach. So the second one went flawless, again. And with the third child, she's 3 now, so this is 3 years ago. It was a little bit different because my wife wasn't feeling right. She felt a little off. And I always encourage, for any reason, if you feel like you want to go to the hospital, we will do that. It's no problem. So I thought she was panicking a little prematurely and, not really necessarily needing to go to the hospital. But, of course, the decision's hers. I'll always back that. And so I took her to the hospital. Upon getting to the hospital, this was a last-minute thing. So we had our 2 other children. We had a babysitter at the last minute come to the house. We grabbed some stuff and took off. It's like 10 o'clock at night maybe. And we get to the hospital. I had a conversation with the doctors and staff there and basically let them know what the situation was, what the circumstances, and that I am going to deliver this child, not anybody else. We're not here for you to assist us in a delivery. We're here as a precaution. Should there be something beyond the ability that I have, you guys can, help. So they all agreed. I told them in addition to that, once the child is born, I want to be very clear that the child doesn't leave my or my wife's sight or presence. We stay with that child throughout. I'm not allowing for my child to be injected with anything. No vaccination, no nothing. Nothing you deem medically necessary, nothing. So I want to be 100% clear with everybody, which I was. They give me my own room, which I loved. No doctor, no nurse, no nothing. The child is delivered. Again, beautiful, without flaw, no complication. My wife is feeling good. Everything is fine. So some time passes. Some nurses come in and basically try to take the child now and say, we have to take her to another room. I told them, look, I said from the beginning, that's not going to happen. I'm going with you. I don't care what your hospital protocol says about my not being able to go back there, then the child doesn't go. So I went, and it was just to weigh the child and take some measurements and stuff, and that's fine. So during that process, they put a little clamp on my daughter, and I asked them, what is that? And they said that that's an alarm system. And what that does is prevent anyone from taking the baby out of the hospital. And I thought, that's odd, considering we're leaving, tonight, and we're done here, so what the fuck is that? So, whatever. I figured, all right, they'll take it off when we're ready to go. Hour or so passes, we're ready to go, we're in touch with the babysitter, she's got to leave, so we got to get back to the house. My wife is feeling fine. There's no medical reason for us to stay there. Now, the bullshit starts. Doctors come in and start trying to talk to me about, you can't leave. So I'm like, what do you mean I can't leave? You are required to stay here. You cannot leave, and giving me all these bullshit reasons and stories, and I didn't want to hear none of that shit. I didn't want to hear none of it. So I started getting upset. I didn't want to worry my wife, but she saw what was happening. The more people came in and tried to tell me that I'm not leaving, the more fucking pissed off I got. Got to the point where they said, if you try to take that child out of here, the security gates will come down, the cops will come, and you'll be arrested. So now I'm like, hold on a second. I'm going to be arrested for taking my child? My fucking child? Now I'm really fucking pissed. So, big scene. They call security, people come up, and I basically told them, look, I was very fucking clear from the get-go here. I don't give a fuck what your policy is, what you say. I am leaving this hospital with my wife and child. The first motherfucker that tries to stop me and put his hands on me, I'm going to lay you the fuck out. I am going to knock your fucking teeth out and lay you in a fucking pool of blood, one after the other. So whoever the fuck wants to stand in my way, whichever one of you brave motherfuckers is going to stop me from leaving, come down and let's just finish this shit. So it was turning bad. You know, I didn't want it to get to that, but this is fucking crazy. And I told her, I'm not a fucking slave. I'm not a fucking prisoner. You're not my fucking master. And you have no right to hold me here. So, again, I try to stay calm for my wife's sake, for the sake of the child. I know how these things can go. Cops come, you know, they end up fucking shooting me over some crazy shit because they're afraid. Whatever. So I overheard a conversation with one of the personnel there was having with the owner of the hospital. And I heard him saying, like, you know, this guy's threatening to knock out our security people. He's physically actually there waiting and saying he's going to knock them out. And we don't know what to do, this and that. So to make a long story short, you know, what I did was I told him, I left it at that, the ultimatum, we're leaving. The senior doctor came in and sat down with me and said, look, this can't happen. You know, this is crazy. And I said, the craziness is you motherfuckers thinking that you could tell me what the fuck to do and trick me into some bullshit and put something on my child. You're fucking insane to think that I'm going to fucking sit back and let that shit happen. Fuck you, fuck the cops, fuck the hospital, fuck all of you. So he saw that this is going real bad. The owner of the hospital saw this is going real bad. It's not going to end well. And what they offered to me, which I accepted, which I thought was fine, was they had to get one of their senior doctors out of bed in the middle of the night to get their ass down to the hospital, do a very simple preliminary exam on the child, give clearance and allow us to leave, and that would be done. So it took me another hour by the time the doctor came in and did that, which I agreed to. The point of the whole hospital part is, this is why I don't fuck with hospitals and why I don't get involved with any fucking government entity. Because you get involved with them and all of a sudden they tell you what the fuck to do and what freedoms you have and don't have. So that's an example where that shit could have went real bad. You know, because I told them I don't believe in the vaccinations. I told them all these things, and they tried to force that shit on me and my child. And that was never going to happen. So I know this story took a crazy twist here with this part of it, but it's important that I tell you because that was one of the reasons why, you know, I didn't want to go to the hospitals. So to end the story on a positive note, you know, my children again are my life, and it was a beautiful experience. All three of their childbirths were amazing, amazing experiences and bonding opportunities for me, you know, that I cherish, that I'm so, so glad that we did in the way that we did. Even aside from the bullshit hospital story, you know, it was a beautiful, beautiful thing, and I love my kids to death. So I'm very, very grateful and blessed to have them. And that's the story, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you next time.